This is the block brake adjustment procedure video. Think safety first. Prior to performing any work, make sure any and all necessary safety precautions have been followed and the elevator has been taken out of service. Follow any and all necessary electrical safety requirements when working with and around electricity, and make sure proper PPE is worn. When hoisting equipment, ensure proper lifting equipment and safe lifting practices are followed. For initial setup, try and keep all four corners between 12 thousandths inch to 14 thousandths inch, but also make sure they are no more than 1 or 2 thousandths of each other all the way around, and the brake release lever has 1/2 inch of travel. If the air gap or the brake release lever travel needs adjustment, continue watching this video. This section outlines the air gap adjustment procedure. If the brake needs adjustment, break loose the top side bolts. If it is just a slight adjustment, you can just do one corner at a time. Adjust screws so that a 20 thousandths inch feeler gauge drags slightly. Loosen all four guide screws and make sure they move freely until the next step. Tighten the adjustment bolts until there is friction against the feeler gauge. Feel that the 20 thousandths feeler gauge drags slightly at each bolt. Tighten the adjustment bolts until the 16 thousandths feeler gauge is a snug fit, just enough that you can't pull it out. Tighten the guide screw until the feeler gauge comes loose. After tightening all of the guide screws, verify each with the 15 thousandths inch feeler gauge. Hold each guide screw while torquing down the adjustment bolts to 45 foot-pounds in a diagonal pattern. Ensure the 15 thousandths inch feeler gauge no longer fits, and that the 13 thousandths inch feeler gauge is a tight fit. Perform final verification with a dial indicator on each corner. This next section outlines replacing the brake pads. Warning: the power should be disconnected before removing the wires. Remove 16mm bolts to free the block brake from the machine housing. Once the brake is free, the wires can be pulled through the conduit. Heat the brake pad bolts to soften Loctite and remove the bolts with a hex key. Remove the brake pad. You may have to tap on the side of the brake pad with a soft hammer. Scrape the Loctite off of the brake body. Place the new brake pad on the block brake body. Reinsert the screws to secure the brake pad to the block brake body. Make sure to apply Loctite to each bolt. Torque the screws to 70 inch-pounds, 8 Newton-meters. Place the brake back onto the machine. Insert the bolts into the machine body through the brake. Hold the guide screw off of the machine housing while tightening the bolt. Get close to 20 thousandths air gap to start the brake adjustment procedure. This section outlines the brake release travel adjustment. Measure the travel of the end of the manual brake release arm. 1/2 inch is the target. Break the two nuts loose. Then hold the inner nut while making the adjustment to the center bolt. Verify 1/2 inch travel at the end of the lever. Tighten the upper nut down while holding the lower nut in place. Verify 1/2 inch travel at the end of the lever and repeat as needed. Be sure to install elastic dust covers when finished with the procedure. Reminder: brakes must be burnished after the installation procedure is complete. The air gap should be rechecked after burnishing. If you have additional questions, please contact Hollister Whitney at the information listed on your screen. Be sure to reference the support section of our website for the manuals and technical information.